Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. Ukraine War News Update, second part thereof for the 3rd of September 2024. We're going to do military aid and assistance. I'm going to start with something I forgot to say earlier, that a Mi-8 helicopter has reportedly been lost in Russia. I had this ready to go. I don't know why. I'm sure I didn't talk about it. I mentioned another one that was in Andrew Perpetua's lost list. I don't think it's this one. This is only just coming out. I don't know if it is. I mean, I presume it's military. There was another helicopter that was lost the other day in Russia with 22 people on board over near Kamchatka. Isn't it odd that they are suffering this many helicopter losses? You know, this happens very occasionally in the UK. Okay, a country half the size. But we don't have that many helicopter losses here. You've had 2 in 2 days. That may have nothing to do with the war at all, or maybe tangentially connected to the war in terms of sanctions on components and maintenance, etc., etc. I don't know, but something weird is going on. They do lose quite a few helicopters. Right. I want to more formally start with this news piece that isn't, I don't think, a news piece. You might have heard this yesterday. I almost talked about it, and then I thought, it's a bit dodge. So I didn't mention it in my military aid video yesterday. And good thing I didn't, because it looks like it's misinformation. Okay. The claim is Ukraine will receive Serbian MiG-29s through France. And by the way, this person that's spreading the information has now been shadow banned, so it might tell you something. Serbia signed a contract with France to purchase 12 Rafale fighters for a total of €3 billion. Now, that much is true. Part of the $390 million will be paid by the delivery of 36 Russian-made MiG-29 fighters to Paris. So I don't know where that sub-amount comes from. The fighters will be sent to France already in December. It's obvious that these fighters will go to Ukraine. Moscow was already informed about this point of agreement. MiG-29 SE, 9-13 SE modification aircraft are in service in Serbia. This modification has an improved radar, blah, 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 blah. By the way, this is not the first time that Serbian weapons have been delivered to us, to the Ukrainians. €800 million worth of ammunition was received through intermediaries. Okay. So it is true that Serbia has provided stuff to Ukraine. It particularly is more aligned to wanting to make money and less so about their moral and political positioning. But as Ivana Stradna, an expert on the Balkans, says, first, as people say below, Serbia does not have 36 operational MiG-29s. Second, what's the source? And there's lots of discussion here about the source. He's like, trust me, bro, I know people in Ukraine. They're usually pretty reliable, and I'm getting it from Ukrainian sources. Third, Serbia has already delivered ammunition to Ukraine, but not because Serbia is cutting ties from Russia, but because of lucrative business and military industry in Serbia. Russia doesn't care. Now, this was David in response to David D, who, as I said before, don't always take everything he says as gospel, treat it with a pinch of salt, and he was spreading this one, 36 Serbian MiG-29s heading to Ukraine. My only question is, how is Biden Sullivan going to try and block them? He's not a fan of the Democrats. Anyway, it's almost certainly not true. Just wanted to warn you there. I have no idea where the Serbian 36 MiG-29 donation to Ukraine story comes from. I'd really like to know who is spreading the fake information. I mean, the number of planes alone should tell you enough that it's BS, and it's funny to see people take it so seriously, says this particular person. But just be warned, I don't think that's happening. It's not true. At least as far as I'm aware so far. Okay, we have had Top Knot Man, Commission, the chap in charge of strategic industries, who used to be in charge of the railway network, did an amazing job to keep the railways up and running and really effective throughout the course of the beginning part of the war. And he got a bit of a promotion to Minister of Strategic Industries of Ukraine. Now, he's in charge of getting the, military industrial complex to be operating as efficiently and as effectively as possible, and also R&D, working to design and hopefully produce new equipment. So he has just recently spoken to Christian Amanpour on CNN, and this is what he had to say.
To, as I said, a private factory run by a former, special forces officer, and he was saying that what you all have to do is really make up for lost time. That there was a lot of time, many months, where you could have been ramping up your own domestic production, and that now it's really urgent, whether it's land drones as we saw, whether it's what you're talking about, the air drones, whether what your president said, ballistic missiles you're trying to develop here now. Do you feel you've lost time depending and waiting on the NATO allies to help you?
I'm running defense industry for only 1.5 years, and you probably haven't heard much about the industry before, although we got quite a strong defense industry back in Soviet Union. It was neglected for a few decades. Finally, you've seen in the last year that we are capable to produce enough and capable to produce quite a wide range of things. This year we produce finally twice less than we could because of lack of funding. Next year the capabilities are 3 times higher.
So what he's saying is twice less, as in, so they are producing 50% of what they could do. Now, we'd heard previously there's a $10 billion shortfall in the military industrial complex in Ukraine, as in if they had $10 billion more dollars, they would produce $10 billion more worth of kit. It is not a capacity problem, it's a financial problem. They have the ability to build much more stuff than they already are, like 100% more stuff
than potential funding we have. That's why it's even more important to get enough financial support from our partners, because it's quite embarrassing to be capable to produce, meanwhile not having enough funds.
It's interesting what you say, that Ukraine used to be the heart of the Soviet defense industry. So you have a lot of experience and expertise. Is that right?
For me, it was complicated, but we've done it. We got back to producing, and we proved that we are capable to produce enough. That's why, again, having enough funding, having enough fuel, we can make this car run really fast.
Your foreign minister today essentially again said that you're being forced, or the forces here are being forced to fight with, their hands tied behind their backs. Do you feel that way too? Do you feel that until you get this up and running in sufficient quantities, that you really need to be allowed to use the weapons that are coming in from abroad to its maximum capability?
Even not considering the restrictions on the Western supply limitations, we proved and we opened that to all our partners that we are capable to produce more things locally. All we need is enough funding for that. That's why, indeed, it's right, as my Minister of Foreign Affairs said, it feels like fighting with the tied hands.
When you say you need the funding, you keep saying that. Do you think now you need funding more than just being sent weapons and ammunition?
Definitely, because before we proved that we're capable to produce, funding would not help much. At this point, where we prove and we show that we're capable to produce much more, definitely funding is the limitation.
So,
which is really interesting. So he's saying that the limitation for them isn't weapons from abroad now, it's funding to make their own weapons. Interesting.
Speak as if this is going to go on for not just another week or another month or another 6 months, that this is going to go on for a long time.
Again, living through 922nd day in Kyiv, where they promised to take over in 3 days. Trust me, we're ready to fight as long as it takes.
So good stuff from him, and you can go and check out that on CNN and elsewhere. So, okay, now let's look at a few things that the Ukrainians are producing. This is news that's come out in the last 24 hours. I talked to you about this particular APC that they're producing. They've authorized the Kurunji APC that can travel at speeds of over 80 kilometers an hour. Design of the hull bottom and the special mine-resistant seats protect the troops from the consequences of an explosive device equivalent to 6 kilograms of TNT. So it's basically an MRAP APC. That is an example of what the Ukrainians are presently doing. Another example, let's look at this. Ukrainian armored technology presented the new Varta 2 IMV, that's Infantry Mobility Vehicle, or APC, at MSPO 2024 in Kielce, Poland. The Varta 2 is built on the base chassis and weighs 14 tons. Ballistic protection is level 3A, 3B, according to Stanag 4569. So that's a kind of regulation or a level of protection that you get. So NATO vehicles will have to operate to certain levels and whatever. Vehicle can carry up to 10 troops and reach speeds of up to 110 kilometers per hour. It looks like a pretty useful turret on top there. In the photos, the vehicle is equipped with a SIG remote controlled turret with a 30mm cannon, machine gun, and Tucher smoke grenade launchers. The photos also show an electronic warfare jammer, apparently from the Ukrainian company Kvertus. So this is all very useful, and it shows that they are continuing to innovate and produce as well. So again, ready to launch at MSPO 2024 with our Senator MRAP and Senator pickup. So this is now Roman Shimonov from Senator. They are the Canadian company. He is is he of Israeli descent, but married to a Ukrainian? They employ a whole bunch of Ukrainian refugees at the Senator at the Rochelle plant in Canada. They are now producing a wide range of these vehicles for Ukraine, but also looking to export them, I think, to the US as well. Originally, they were creating security vehicles for like money and bank transfers and whatnot. So they are now expanding their range. Senator MRAP. So there was some criticisms that some of the vehicles weren't designed as MRAPs, but people were assuming they were MRAPs, using them, and people were getting blown up. They were getting properly immobilized by mines, and they were like, yeah, well, they weren't designed to be used like that. That's the basic Senator. But anyway, the Senator MRAP and Senator Pickup, both equipped with cutting-edge stabilized weapon systems, the 14.5 kPVT and the GSH-23 cannon, showcasing unmatched versatility and firepower in tactical operations, he says. So that's really good. You might see them, as you can see in the background, the Ukrainian colors there. So you might well see them. That's not so much the domestic production, but you've seen already well over 1,000, is it 1,500 plus senators have found their way to Ukraine. So hopefully they'll get some of those iterations as well. Now, this is a bit of Ukrainian ingenuity here. This is a BMW 5 Series MLRS in Ukrainian service, sporting 3 rear-mounted 122mm Grad rocket launch tubes. We've actually seen this be used previously, but quite incredible that you've got a BMW 5 Series being adapted to work in that manner. There are lots of adaptations coming from Ukraine. They are building and they're designing and building lots of new equipment. It's just a case of money, isn't it? Okay. Russia has used the 48N6DM missile of the S-400 air defense system in a surface-to-surface mode. So we've heard this particularly being used in places like Kharkiv. Dnipropetrovsk gets hit by the SAM missile, surface-to-air missiles being used in ground attack mode. Zaporizhia city as well. Anyway, there's now evidence that the S-400 air defense system has used their surface-to-surface mode during the missile attack on Kiev on the morning of the 2nd of September, so that's yesterday. Ukrainian air defense successfully intercepted and destroyed the 48N6DM missile. Now, I'll be wondering where that's shot from, so that's obviously traveled a little bit further than some of the other usage of these missiles. When used in surface-to-surface mode, it has a low accuracy and poses a significant threat to civilian infrastructure. Missiles are powerful 180-kilogram warhead with numerous fragments, increasing its destructive potential against civilian targets. So that's a bit of a worry there. Now, Bloomberg had an article, as mentioned already today, that Ukraine's allies expect Iran to ship missiles to Russia imminently. Deliveries would mark a worrying development. US and NATO have repeatedly warned Tehran against such shipments. Now, Okay. Anton Gerashchenko says Iran will provide Russia with ballistic missiles imminently. Some sources told Bloomberg it could even happen within days. Will Russia's partner Iran limit Russia in strikes on Ukrainian territory? That's a rhetorical question, which is a pointed question concerning US giving weapons to Ukraine, but saying that they can't use them on Russian territory to X or Y degree. Now, will Iran be saying that to Russia? No, absolutely not. There is a double standard that is going on here that allows Russia to prosecute this war in a way that Ukraine is not able to defend it, is not able to prosecute it in return. However, Institute for the Study of War says the intelligence sources added that dozens of Russian military personnel are currently in Iran training to operate these Fateh 360 missiles. But they have previously mentioned this. This is not particularly a new thing. Iran is expected to imminently deliver ballistic missiles to Russia to support the Russian invasion. Unspecified European official told Bloomberg on September 2nd that Iran could be doing that within a matter of days. European intelligence sources previously told Reuters in August that Iran and Russia signed a contract in December last year for Iran to deliver Ababil close-range ballistic missiles and Fateh 360 short-range ballistic missiles, SRBMs, to Russia. So, I mean, the good thing is that these aren't long-range missiles, but the range is probably still worryingly decent enough. Russia's acquisition of the Ababil or Fateh 360 ballistic missiles would likely allow Russia to strike Ukrainian near-rear targets while preserving Russia's stockpiles of domestically produced missiles such as Iskanders for deep-rear Ukrainian strikes. In other words, Russia's using up their inventory of ballistic missiles to shoot at stuff that is nearer than they would like, and therefore they can't shoot at as many further back targets as they would like. So these would add to their ability to do both more effectively and more often. John Ridge says Iranian missiles were probably delivered to Russia months ago. So General Cavoli, says John Ridge, Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, stated in a written testimony to the House Armed Services Committee in April that Iran had already transferred missiles to Russia. Russia almost certainly received Iranian ballistic missiles at least 5 months ago. So that's the kind of, however, this might have already happened and it might not even be particularly new news. But they may be getting more of these. They may start to use them more frequently, and this would just add to Russia's ability. And Ukraine is still, as we heard from Commission, still fighting with the hands tied behind their backs. And that's really bloody frustrating. Anyway, that's enough from me. Take care, guys. Speak soon.